Drive Time on RTE Radio 1, sponsored by Zurich. Investments. Complicated? Not when you talk to a financial broker about a Zurich investment plan.
The green list of countries you can travel to without quarantining on the way back has finally been published, as you know now, but it is creating as many problems, rather, I should say, is it creating as many problems as it has solved? I'm joined by Ciaran Mulligan, Managing Editor of Blue Insurance, and tourism expert Eoghan Corry. You're both welcome. Ciaran, can I ask you first of all in respect to the insurance industry and insuring people trying to travel anywhere? The Minister told us a few minutes ago that there is absolutely no need for confusion, and indeed no confusion at all. But insurers were speaking of the need for clarity this afternoon. Are you confused about who can travel safely where and for how long?
Hi, Philip. Yes, we are. We are confused and we're frustrated because we've highlighted this over the past 2 weeks, that the Department of Foreign Affairs needed to change the current status from all but essential travel to high degree of caution, which is one level below that, in order for our policy to be active and to cover people when they're travelling to these green corridors. So, I don't often agree with Mary Lou, but on this occasion she's right. This has been handled badly and it needs to be rectified as soon as possible in order to protect Irish travellers going abroad to these green corridors.
So anybody at the moment who has to make an essential journey because they are being told that non-essential travel should not be undertaken can still not be insured to go to Greenland or Malta?
We would have to agree this on a case-by-case basis with the insurer to see whether this non-essential travel is, we would take into consideration if somebody had a family member that was seriously ill or possibly a death in the family and they had to go to a funeral. I'm sure underwriters would agree to it. But on a general consensus, at the moment, this policy, or all our policies right across the industry, are excluding all but essential, are excluding travel when it's all but essential travel.
Okay. But if the government was to end up having to say to the public, well, now it's no longer non-essential, but you have to travel with a high degree of caution, or you have to travel taking all of the normal precautions, the messaging would get even more confused, wouldn't it?
I don't think so. I think that's what should have happened from the beginning. And I think Leo Varadkar, who said yesterday, don't put out a green list if you're leaving all but essential travel, was right. This needs to change to a high degree of caution. And I think most people who are going to go abroad and travel are going to be very cautious, whether you're traveling to the airport, on an airplane. And like when you get to these places in Europe, they're much stricter than Ireland in relation to wearing masks when you go into restaurants, shops, bars, etc. So I think, that needs to be taken into account by the government as well. European cities are stricter than what Ireland is doing at the moment.
So please explain to me then, what is the situation at present? If I had to undertake an essential journey to Greenland this evening, can I get insurance?
Not at the moment. Oh, sorry, non-essential or essential?
No, essential.
Well, yes, we would probably have you covered. We would probably need to know what the essential journey was about, but we would have to get that clarified with our underwriters for you.
Okay, so we would have to go to Lloyd's of London and set out my specific circumstances, would we? I mean, there's no longer just a box that you can tick online for something like this.
No, it's not an automatic, we'll cover you for going away. And what I would say to people is, unless this advice changes, there will be no insurance cover in place. And anyone that is considering going to these green corridors needs to get themselves an EHIC insurance card in order for them to protect themselves when they're abroad.
What if you were running the Department of Tourism, in fact, running the country, would you do now?
Well, in the first place...
would it be more prudent and, frankly, safer for everybody to just call the whole thing off and write off 2020?
No, because you have a whole travel industry that's suffering and on their knees at the moment. I mean, you've got travel agents, you've got tour operators, you've got airlines out there that are really suffering. And no matter what level you put in here, some people will still not go on a staycation. And I understand people, we want to support the Irish economy, but some people will not go on a staycation in Ireland. And you've people out here that have holiday homes abroad that could fly out there and they could be staying there for a week and they would be safe, just as safe as going to Kerry. So if I was in control of the department, I would be changing this. I wouldn't have actually announced green corridors without changing to the high degree of caution which the Taoiseach had said yesterday. And I think this needs to be done in the next 24 hours. Otherwise, we're going to have people who will travel, and 50,000 are travelling every week at the moment, who don't have insurance cover.
Yeah, but you have just talked about people already taking holidays and being allowed to take holidays when the advice is no non-essential travel whatsoever.
Well, people still want to head away. The weather here, people have different reasons for travelling abroad, whether they have a holiday home or whether they're friends or whether they're family, whether they're going to. So there's different reasons for people going abroad. I personally was due to go to France next week. I'm not going, but I'm going to the Greek islands in September. So, the sooner the government release this and open it up to a high degree of caution, people who are travelling, 99% of people who are travelling abroad are going to be safe. And they'll probably be safer than they are in Ireland.
How can anybody justify going anywhere when the government's message is no non-essential travel? And I'm sorry, Ciaran, but your holiday in Greece isn't essential.
No, but then don't open up green corridors. If you're saying I have just as much a chance of getting an infection rate in Cork or Kerry than I have in one of the Greek islands, then don't open up the green corridors if that is your view. But their view is, they're saying, and they've said this already, that if I go to Greece, I have just as much chance of catching COVID there as I have here in Ireland. And the very first weekend when they opened up the restaurants, I went for a bite to eat that night. I didn't go to any bars, but I walked by bars on South William Street. And you should have seen the queues of people waiting to go in with no social distancing happening. And that's happening on beaches in Ireland, it's happening elsewhere, where European cities are very, very strict on what's happening social distance-wise.